when my body won't hold me anymore, and it finally lets me free, will I be ready when my feet won't walk another mile and my lips give their last kiss goodbye? Will my hands be steady when I lay down my fears, my hopes and my doubts, the rings on my fingers and the keys to my house, with no hard feelings? When the sun hangs low in the west and the light in my chest won't be kept, held at bay any longer, when the jealousy fades away and it's ash and dust for cash and lust, and it's just hallelujah and love in thought, love in the words, love in the songs they sing in the church, and no hard feelings. Lord knows they haven't done much good for anyone, kept me afraid and cold, with so much to have and hold. When my body won't hold me anymore and it finally lets me free, where will I go? Will the trade winds take me south through Georgia grain, or tropical rain, or snow from the heavens? Will I join with the ocean blue, or run into a savior true and shake hands laughing and walk through the night straight to the light, holding the love I've known in my life, and no hard feelings? Lord knows they haven't done much good for anyone, kept me afraid and cold, with so much to have and hold. Under the curving sky, I'm finally learning why it matters for me and you to say it and mean it too. For life and its loveliness and all of its ugliness, good as it's been to me, I have no enemies. I have no enemies. I have no enemies. I have no enemies.
And when that song played just now, we've been listening to it on repeat because it's so insanely simple, yet so insanely profound. He just says, no hard feelings. No hard feelings. Feelings is hard. He doesn't say feelings aren't hard, but no hard feelings. And I'm finally understanding why, with this fire, it matters to you and I to say it and mean it too. Which means I'm sorry. And I forgive you. And I love you. And I'm so proud of you. The end.
All of the communications I've got are wow and shocked. And no words. Nobody saw this coming. John passed at 3 o'clock on Monday morning. The day before that, he swam 25 laps. We had been back and forth from lower elevation a couple of times, and he was having a little bit of trouble keeping his oxygenation level up, but his blood pressure, last we checked, was 125/70. And his oxygen was back up in the 90s. I woke up to the coyotes howling and some last breaths, and I tried to shake him awake. And I knew. He was gone peacefully in his sleep. You are not alone. I am here beside you. You are not alone. I am here now. Good morning, Crestone community. Wow. And our peeps from Denver and beyond. Wow, huh? All of the communications I've got are wow and shocked. And no words. Nobody saw this coming. I woke up to the coyotes howling and some last breaths, and I tried to shake him awake. And I knew. He was gone peacefully in his sleep. Cindy Hefty came at 3:30. And you try and guess, you try and know. God, if only that concentrator would have come a day earlier. He had a doctor's appointment on Thursday. Today's his doctor's appointment. It's probably heart failure. We'll never know. John Rowe had a sponsor. His name was Frank McKibben. And Frank McKibben used to say, and John Rowe was fond of quoting, "You die like you lived." And this man died peacefully. And I met John at Frank and Jenny McKibben's house in Alcoholics Anonymous some 33 years ago. I met him, and it was a group in Denver of about 80 people who were known as the hardcore Alcoholics Anonymous group. And it had been suggested to me after some few years of sobriety that I probably was going to need something a little bit more substantial because I still seem pretty messed up at a couple of years sober. And those people intimidated me, but there was a Christmas party, and Jenny was my sponsor, and I hid out in the kitchen, as I am wont to do, with the one other person I knew, making burritos for 80 people with Frank's homemade green chili. And John Rowe walked up to me at the end of the deal and introduced himself, and we had a chat. And I was tired because I had been cooking burritos and fear and intimidation of these people for the last 5 hours, and I was exhausted and needed to get out of there, and wanted to go home and lay on my bed and watch the Broncos. And I excused myself, and he asked somebody for my phone number, and he called me a few days later. And we spent about probably 2.5 hours on the telephone. And first, I think we talked about food, and we talked about music, and we talked about what spiritual practices we were on. AA has its own literature, but in John's badass group, it was required reading that you read Ram Dass Be Here Now, and that you read Carlos Castaneda, and you better brush up on a little Merton, and I could go on and on. And you choose, we've got this as a foundation, but you use whatever you use to save your ass. Because we are people who are going to be dead man walking if somebody and something and some power doesn't save our ass. So we talked about what, to some that seems like dabblers, but we talked about what we were dabbling in currently. John sold food for Shamrock for 15 years in Denver, and downtown Denver was his territory. And we talked about, of course, I knew, we know all the same restaurants and all the best food and where to go, but John had a behind the scenes look at the chefs there because he sold them food. And it was like having my own private Anthony Bourdain kitchen confidential, telling me the stories of the chefs and the craziness and the, how this restaurant and that restaurant went out of business in the, late 80s and early 90s. It was oftentimes a lot of cocaine. And like I said, it was like having my own Anthony Bourdain kitchen confidential. And a girl like myself doesn't need much more of an aphrodisiac than that. We decided we'd go to a movie, and because we're people of substance, we chose Schindler's List. Not exactly a rom-com. We dated for a while. We looked at each other earnestly and said, we're going to take it slow. And then promptly did not. These girls were, 10 and 12, yeah. It was a rough start, kids. It was a rough start. We did not have proper therapy. It was a rough go. But community held us together. Our Alcoholics Anonymous community. John had 80 people in his group. I had about 40 people in my group. You don't need any more close friends than 120, You love them sometimes, you hate them sometimes. It's community. Over the years, John Rowe, somebody's here, Tom Brown's here, he asked me one time when he was getting married, he says, How do you and John do it? Because you two do not look like people who back down from an argument, either one of you. And he's right. He's right. And how you do it is community. How you do it is community. The one thing that two things John and I never argued about, I don't ever remember having an argument about, were buying houses and eating food. John and I loved architecture, and John loved architecture, and he loved dreaming about building his own house. And, you know, due to our disease, we didn't quite get that opportunity in our early age to get that together. I told him about the restaurants that I'd run in Denver and the restaurant that bed and breakfast I had in Belize, and we wanted to do travel. And we wanted to build our own place, and we had about 2 nickels to rub together. At any rate, as the years have gone on, we have become a family bonded in love through the rocky start. We stayed in Denver for a long time, and we found out about Crestone. It had everything. We want to dabble. We got a lot of dabbling going on. We can dabble anywhere. We can build our own house. We bought property in 2001. John wanted to build a straw bale. We would have architectural drawing contests where we'd get out the graph paper and the architectural rule and see who could design the best house. I had reams of draft paper. So in 2008, we got, community helps you. We got to where we had more than 2 nickels to rub together. We've both been salespeople all our lives. We had that in common too. John, like I said, John was better probably because of his temperament at keeping a job than I was. Any rate, so times financially got better, and we were going to build our own place, but then we were both working so much in Denver, and we're in our 50s at this point, and I said, I'm not gonna work 40 or 50 hours a week and go down and do construction with you over the weekend and head back and do that. So we bought our other place. And we got to do the things that we wanted to do. John Rowe we got to see some of the world. And something that you all may not know, the people that come to our house frequently know that John is sitting on the couch often with his headphones, and a lot of times what he's doing is he's dreaming of an inexpensive property in the south of France, or Mexico, or Italy, maybe Croatia, where we could just buy a little fixer-upper. It's only 125,000 euros. And we can go there and fix that baby up. We're not going to do that, honey. I can barely speak Spanish. We're not going to learn French. So, at any rate, this community, this Crestone community, became our new community. It became our new community of strength and people that are seeking and people that are not always perfect. And it has been our community. And I thought it would always be our community. We've lived in this house, we've lived in this area 3 times longer than any house ever. We usually don't stick around more than 5 years in a spot. And most of you know that the property was up for sale. Because we love it here. We don't hate it here. John Rowe said, I want one more adventure before I die. And I'm always up for an adventure. We could be 40 minutes from Mexico, And I will have you know, you don't know this, Tucson is the very first UNESCO World Heritage Site in America to win the UNESCO World Heritage Award for astronomy. We got Mexico, we got astronomy, we got 250 species of birds. We've loved it here, but fuck it, let's go. We're going to have one more adventure. We have one more adventure. So this is it. This is home. Just so you know. I'm not going anywhere now. I'm not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. What would I do? Get dressed up in my new slinky black keto body dress and take myself out to dinner in Tucson? I don't think so. So thank you all for being here. It means so much to him. He was loved in the community. So much. By so many people that I don't even know.
There'll always be love here.
I mean, I know most of you, but the girls went to the Merc yesterday and they said, the guys at the cash register know John. And I said, which guys? And I don't know him because John goes there every day because he hides his Diet Coke habit and peanuts and beef jerky with sugar in it from his house. He sometimes stashes it in his car. So the guys at the counter know him well. It is unreal, but this is life. And like I said, I'm so honored that you're here. And John was loved in this community. You know, he's a little bit easier on folks than his spouse here. And I am thrilled I am happy to be here and continue whatever is next. And I thank you all.
We're going to have a piece of music that the family has selected to play next.
When my body won't hold me anymore and it finally lets me free, will I be ready? When my feet won't walk another mile and my lips give their last kiss goodbye, will my hands be steady? When I lay down my fears, my hopes and my doubts, the rings on my fingers and the keys to my house, with no hard feelings. When the sun hangs low in the west and the light in my chest won't be kept held at bay any longer, when the jealousy fades away and it's ash and dust, the cash and lust, and it's just hallelujah and love in thought, love in the words, love in the songs they sing in church, and no hard feelings. Lord knows they haven't done Can't be afraid and cold with so much to have and hold.
In John's 5 wishes for today, he asked for rock and roll, Carlos Castaneda, and kirtan. So we're going to have the Carlos Castaneda part now.
So Carlos Castaneda has a lot of poems, and McGee picked this one. I'll just read it because Carlos Castaneda is better at speaking than any of us. The conditions of a solitary bird are 5. The first, that it flies to the highest point. The second, that it does not suffer for company, not even of its own kind. The third, that it aims its beak to the skies. The fourth, that it does not have a definite color. The fifth, that it sings very softly.
Lovely. Now we're going to hear from the Threshold Singers.
With all that Cheryl reminded us of the preciousness of community and the gift that John has been to all of us here. That's this song. You are not alone. I am here beside you. You are not alone. I am here now. You are not alone. I am here beside you. You are not alone. I am here now. I am not alone. You are here beside me. I am not alone. You are here now. I am not alone. You are here beside me. I am not alone. You are here now. We are not alone. We are here together. We are not alone. We are here now. We are not alone. We are here together. We are not alone. We are here now.
My name is Katie, and I am John and Cheryl's and my other mom's oldest daughter. And this is Jess. And she has one little boy named Wyatt who looks just like Pop Pop. And he's growing into his head, much to the relief of all of us. I'm also very disturbed because my dad has the largest head out of any human I have ever met, and his hat fits me. So I don't know what's going on. And thank you for Grandma Y for bearing that head so that he could be here with all of us. Cheryl spoke about about Dad as a husband, and y'all know who he is as a community member. Our Auntie Barb will share a little bit about him as a brother before any of us knew him. Cheryl shared that where they met is the same place where my parents met, and I possibly followed too closely, perfectly closely in my parents' footsteps. And my dad always said he wanted to date a nice girl, but they bored him to tears. And he did get one nice girl, who is my sister. But as for the rest of the women in his life, blood, chosen, and then blood again, my mother. All the women on the Rowe side of the family, Cheryl. He said that we had this fire behind our eyes that scared the shit out of him and that he couldn't get enough of. I can't believe he made it to 73. But he knew how to hold his circle later in life. I wanted to tell some funny stories. When Cheryl said that Frank McKibben said, "You die as you lived," I'm glad he lived longer. Otherwise, I'll tell you, he won an award at his job, who paid for his truck and his car insurance, for the most speeding tickets of any human that ever lived and that will ever live. And he wore it with pride until it's time to teach your insanely, we'll call it spirited, 16-year-old daughter how to drive your work truck. I drive just like him. And hopefully, like him, I will stop driving that way. But not maybe tomorrow. He also had a hairpin trigger. Before I knew him, when I was real young. And the man that y'all know today has transformed. Goddess, God, the great mystery, I'm going to say, the great mystery saved him. And some of y'all saved him. And some of you, he saved. And really, it was just the great mystery working through us. And he was open enough and steady enough that I think he got maybe a little more. And he wasn't always that way. He worked his ass off to be wrong about what he thought he knew about anything. People, God, how to family, community, drinking, like whatever. He was like, I have to be wrong. And so not wrong like you did it wrong. Wrong like that's not the whole truth. And I remember a few like things that he instilled in me, besides horrendous driving, loving to drink, rebellion, a huge head apparently. Thanks, Jess. My mom would agree, actually. Our mom. Oh, you can't really spend your entire life hating entire groups of people. Seems pretty pretty obvious. But I don't know about y'all, but I've found myself kind of doing that again relatively recently. Saying I'm not, but doing it. And my dad said that it's kind of silly to hate half the country, half the world, entire groups of people. And that more hate is just more hate. He made me go to my first yoga class, and I hated it. I hated all the people there. I thought they were like skinny and pretty and educated, and their lives were obviously much easier than mine. That's why they could stand on one leg, and like, how the fuck does that help the world? Good job. I hated them. There were entire groups of people. That was a smaller group. But my car kept driving back to the yoga studio. It was so hard. It was the hot kind. Oh my God. And my car just kept driving there and kept driving there. And it changed me. Like it took the violence out of me, like relatively quickly. And one of my teachers was like, "Okay, I want you to say all the Sanskrit names of all the poses." And I was like, I can barely go where my car is in the parking lot. And she said, "Do it anyway." And they were in there. Those are long words with way too many vowels, and so, you know. And I knew them. They were in my bones. And so dad led me to that. And then he accidentally led me to another place that saved me yet again. And again, my sister's kind of the easy one. So she kind of was the glue, held us relatively calm. And their birthdays are 2 days apart. So they're both Libras, right? They're like, I mean, either way is fine. Unless the injustice is big enough, then they do care more than anything. They kind of choose their battles, as they say. What else was I going to say about Dad? Oh, and then we were up here on a hike, and he was like, "Do you want to meditate?" And I was like, "I mean, I'd rather die alone in misery." And like, I was not available to sit quietly with myself. And then he said another one of his bullshit true platitudes, which is that a large majority of the world's problems is that a human, cannot sit quietly with ourselves. And I was like, good to know. Should we go eat, or do you want to smoke some cigarettes? And so I tried, because I wanted my dad to be proud more than anything. I wanted it so bad, and he is, y'all. And so we sat down to meditate, me to swat flies like my life depended on it. These flies bite. Y'all know this. I'm not from the South. I don't know why I say y'all. And Dad could sit there with flies on his eyelashes. It doesn't mean he was peaceful internally, and that he didn't think that the flies were wrong and that he needed to do anything about said flies. Maybe they just didn't bite him because he was him and they were biting me. But regardless, they were on his eyelashes, and he could somehow endure that. That was not the man in his 20s or even in his 30s. A lot of y'all and this place, the magic of this place, and the work that he did and that happened to him, changed him. And I know, like I've never known anything, that this man was right with his creator. Whoever that is, however changing it is, he was never afraid to die. Afraid to miss out on some more time, another adventure? I would say maybe, but not so much. And he also, like that song said, one of the biggest tenets in any spiritual tradition that I have ever been blessed enough to study is that resentment will fucking kill us. And that song talked about, I have no enemies. He had no enemies as of late. And no hard feelings. I thought of 3 resentments while I was driving here. And that was a short list, right? I just woke up, I was busy. I can write a shit list. And when that song played just now, we've been listening to it on repeat because it's so insanely simple, yet so insanely profound. He just says, no hard feelings. No hard feelings. Feelings is hard. He doesn't say feelings aren't hard, but no hard feelings. And I'm finally understanding why, with this fire, it matters to you and I to say it and mean it too, which means I'm sorry. And I forgive you. And I love you. And I'm so proud of you. The end.
That was magnificent. We'll have another piece of music now. I believe it's called Walk of Life. Yeah. Now we'll hear from John's sister, Barbara.
I wrote this quite hurriedly.
Come here, Barbara.
Oh, they're not going to have any trouble hearing me. I wrote this last night. I mean, like starting at 10 o'clock because things have just been rather hectic.
Y'all hear her? You need to hold it right up to your mouth.
I wrote this last night because things were rather hectic. And then I forgot it. And I didn't really review it. And my dear friend Rick ran all the way home and brought it back. And I was telling these guys.
Just a minute. What's that? What's the wrong one?
No. What she has is what I gave.
Oh, sorry.
That's not the right one.
This is not your talk.
Oh. Well, and I forgot it and still don't have it. Oh, it's tucked in there. And I was telling these guys, oh, damn, it was good, too. And then my friend Rick shows up with it, and he was like, okay, it wasn't so good. So we'll do what we can here. It's folded up on the bottom. There we go.
Nice big font for you, Auntie.
Well, no, and I did this. This is what you do for a legal argument, you see, so you won't screw it up. But so honestly, this is the most profound thing that I have seen. It's wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here. So I am John's younger sister, Barb, and I want to share with you a glimpse into the John you don't know. I can kind of. Okay, thank you. That's all right. Oh, I see.
Like
I'm telling you, they didn't have trouble hearing me back there. He wasn't always the silver-haired, magnanimous ambassador to Crestone. He was a dark chestnut-haired, hard-working, brave brother. And when I say hard-working, he would take jobs that no one would do. When he was 15, he sold candy, like one of those pesky kids that goes to your door, bad candy. And he was being driven around in a van with a bunch of other kids selling bad candy, and he did it. And, so he could get some money. And he later worked at a hospital or a hamburger stand that wasn't a very big franchise, but he'd work at night, and he was on the swim team. And then he still kept up working at a hamburger joint with one of those goofy little hats, which he hated, but he did it. And I marveled at it. Rowe's work. That's what we do. And he did it. He really did it. He was the bravery part that sticks out most to me. And I know there's a million things that he has done since in his adulthood. But as a kid, he was a walk-on at a high school swimming team that was of some renown then. So he's swimming with guys, really good-looking guys, that swam when they were 6 years old. And he didn't know how to competitively swim. So he slogged through it. And by the time he was a senior, he was invited to be on a state championship relay team where he swam the fastest split, not only of his life, but faster than even the state record. Now, regrettably, the relay didn't win. They came in second. But it was the most proud moment I have ever had in my life. And I was only 14, and I was in the stands, and I was so nervous I couldn't stand up. My dad had to help me, and I couldn't feel legs and limbs, and I was screaming so loud I realized no noise was coming out because that was my brother swimming incredibly well. And it was, none of us ever had that kind of nerve. I mean, usually when you're going to go out and swim team, you're already good at it. And my sister and I would marvel at that because we were good at our athleticism. And John just wasn't really that guy, or we didn't think. And then he does stuff like pick up golf. And I'd already heard from a million people how hard golf is. And he picked it up while being a single dad and raising 2 girls. And he got good enough to play with scratch players in no time. It was remarkable. So everything he touched seemed to turn to gold, much to my sisters and my chagrin. The quieter side of his endeavors might be that he really used to fish. And even when I was really little, he would take me fishing. That guy who changed when he got to Crestone, who wasn't always that guy, would take me fishing. I didn't ask. He would just take me. And he would teach me how to bait the hooks and teach me how to do the bobbers and teach me how to do the reels and whatever. And then he'd go around the corner to a different fishing pool. He would clean my fish until I was about 12, and then he didn't. And then I didn't fish anymore. So it was, there was the malice in him was gone, and I deserve the malice, frankly. Just should it ever come up. So I'm not reading this. Had I read it, it would have really been good. I don't remember. Oh, and from the fishing, he then graduated into that graceful, peaceful art of fly fishing. And when I was little, about 10, my dad had gotten him his first fly rod, and he'd practice in the backyard with trying to do that fancy thing in the air, and it was just so stupid. And then somehow, just like everything else, he got very good at it. He caught the big granddaddies out of those high Colorado rivers that nobody else was catching. And he was, that I know of, he was, before it was popular, he was a catch and release guy with those, because he revered those big rainbows. But still, again, on that quieter side, and again, without malice or being asked, when I was quite little, he would teach me how to, in Texas, where regrettably I was born. I say regrettably, sorry to any native Texans. He taught me how to catch horny toads and grass snakes and how to avoid the water moccasins at the river. Later, we graduated to garter snakes and frogs and turtles and salamanders, my favorite, in New Jersey. He gave up deer hunting. To my knowledge, he only went once. And he gave it up, despite it being my father's passion, because he didn't like killing things. He didn't like killing animals, which I loved because I hated my dad bringing those deer home on top of the car. And he was really, my parents were born to the mountains and in the mountains, and John picked up that baton. He just, when we'd go on family hikes, which of course I was bitching about because I wanted to be at the swimming pool, he was trudging off like a man on a mission. The dog didn't even keep up with him half the time. And truly, he reminded, he needs to be in Bill Bryson's book, A Walk in the Woods. That's how fit in nature he was. So being that brother to me was his path to the altruism that you guys have seen in him, the beginning of the path. I'm really proud of that, and I'm really proud of what he's done here. So thank you, dear brother John. Godspeed in your new adventure.
Thanks, Barb.
Sure. Sorry I didn't navigate.
You're good. You're good. It's okay. I'm sure everyone here has a story about John that you might like to share, but it's getting real hot up here at this end of the pyre. But we'll take a few comments from the community. So whoever wants to go first, please come for the mic. Everybody else is hot too.
We got a live one over here.
Okay, good. Come on, John Renee. Hold it right up to your mouth.
So, dust to dust, ashes to ashes. John Rowe, you will always be in our community. I wrote this poem yesterday. Not every town says goodbye this way. Here, we trust fire. We carry love where words can no longer reach. This morning, we stand together, watching sparks become stars, remembering that even an ending can light the way for those who remain. Thank you, John Rowe. And thanks for always reminding me to wear a hat.
Thanks, John Renee.
Oh yeah, John did not wear hats. Even at the swimming pool in a Denver winter, he would come out with frozen hair, no hat. Ever.
Next. Did you want to talk? Yes. Oh, hi, Sydney.
I'm not good at public speaking. Can you hear me? Okay. Right into it. Okay. John was a really good friend of mine, and one of the things I liked about him best is that we always had deep conversations about things that meant stuff. And our last conversation was about consciousness and that which is eternal, and we were questioning what that might be. And I guess John knows the answer now, and I'm left bereft like all the rest of us here. He was a wonderful man with such depth, and we were so lucky to have him in our community. I can't imagine how hard this is for you.
Thank you.
I saw John a couple of months ago, and he asked me what I was doing these days, and I told him that I was working at Renaissance festivals, and I had a whole line of sonnets that I had written, and that I had one for the wife. And he said, I told it to him, and he said, I'm not so great at saying my feelings, and go tell that to Cheryl. And I went and I saw where you were, and I waited and I waited, and you were talking, and I went back. I said, well, maybe this isn't the time, and maybe we can work it out where, oh, I see you at Saturday Market or something. And so I think now's the time. This is from John. I have loved thee many years, and thou art now more beautiful than when first we met, and more dear. To me thou art most wonderful. Of time our love has proved the test. Many a storm we have weathered. Thy steadfastness I do respect, and honor thee, love, forever. I do desire thee more each day than I could have e'er imagined, when I was but a callow knave and thou a blushing maiden. Beloved wife, thou art to me my heart, my soul, my destiny.
Beautiful, beautiful. One or two more people, if you'd like to speak. Okay. Okay, yeah, Gussie.
I'll speak also for the book club. And when John first joined our book club, for some reason he thought we were all highly educated and way too literate and way too smart for him. Of course, he was wrong. He fit right in. He gave us so much, and we'll miss him.
Thanks for doing that. Cheryl kindly asked if I would read one of my own poems today, and this one came immediately to mind. It's about an experience I had with Terry, my husband, on the Walmart parking lot. It's called Shadow. Walking beside you, sun at our backs, I see our shadows preceding us, and the shape of yours could be the man of 33 I met and fell in love with, as well as the 78 that you are now. These shapes moving along the ground are those of ageless beings, fading to nothing under cover of clouds. And in this obscurity, there is the foreboding of my great loss, when one day I'll walk in sunlight alone, longing for that featureless shade to move in silence at my side. I'm with you, dear Sister Cheryl. Love you. We have one song to close up with. Thank you all again for coming. Thank you for showing your love.
Is that on the phone?
It is.
There are some things I may not know. There are some places, dear Lord, I may not know. But there's one thing of which I'm sure. My God is real, for I can feel Him in my soul. Well, yes, God is real in my soul. Yes, God is real, for He has washed and made me whole. His love for me, well, it shines like pure gold. Yes, God is real, for I can feel Him in my soul. Hare Ram, 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 Sita Ram, 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 Hare Ram, 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 Sita Ram, 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 Hare Ram, 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 Sita Ram, 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 Hare Ram, 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 Sita Ram, Ram, Ram. And I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. I have found a way to live presence of the Lord is so. In the name, Hare Rama, 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 Sita Rama, 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 Hare Rama, 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 Sita Rama, Rama, Rama. I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. Hare Rama, 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 Sita Rama, Rama, Rama. Hare Rama, 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 Sita Rama, Rama, Rama. I have found a way to live. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. I have found a way to live. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. Sita Rama, Rama, Rama. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. Sita Rama, Rama, Rama. I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. I have found a way to live. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. I have found a way to live. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. In the presence of the Lord. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. In the presence of the Lord. In the presence of the Lord. In the presence of the Lord. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. In the presence of the Lord. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. Sita Rama, Rama, Rama. I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. In the presence of the Lord. In the presence of the Lord. Hare Rama, 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 Sita Rama. Hare Rama, Rama, Sita Rama. I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. Hare Rama, 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 Sita Rama. Hare Rama, 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 Sita Rama. In the presence of the Lord. Hare Rama, Rama. In the presence of the Lord. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Sita Rama. Hare Rama, Rama, Sita Rama. I have found a way to live in the presence of the Lord. Sitaram.